It was a crisp Saturday afternoon in the peaceful suburban neighborhood of Pinewood Hills. The air smelled faintly of freshly cut grass, and the only sound was the distant hum of a lawnmower somewhere down the street. Most residents were enjoying a lazy weekend. Kids rode their bikes along the sidewalks, dogs barked playfully at passing squirrels, and homeowners tended to their gardens. But for Ali Khan, this day was different. Ali had recently taken delivery of his dream car, a sleek black Rolls-Royce Ghost. The deep, mirror-like paint reflected the sunshine like liquid obsidian, and the iconic Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament glimmered as if it were carved from pure silver. For Ali, this wasn't just a luxury car. It was the physical proof of 2 decades of relentless hard work. He had built his real estate business from scratch after moving to the United States with little more than a student visa and ambition in his heart. Now, standing in his driveway with the key fob in hand, he couldn't help but smile at the sight of his new prize. Unfortunately, not everyone in Pinewood Hills shared his joy. From the second-story window across the street, a pair of eyes watched him like a hawk. Karen Walker, mid-50s, platinum blonde hair, permanent scowl, was the self-appointed watchdog of the neighborhood. She had lived here for 15 years, was a long-standing member of the Homeowners Association, HOA, and believed she knew every single detail about every resident's life. Her favorite hobby? Gossiping in the HOA's Facebook group and keeping an eye out for anything she considered suspicious. And to Karen, nothing screamed suspicious louder than a luxury car parked in front of a man she barely knew. "Where did he get that?" she muttered under her breath, pulling her phone closer. She had never liked Ali. She thought he was too quiet, too private, too foreign. In her mind, that meant he had something to hide. She snapped a photo from her window, the Rolls-Royce gleaming in the sun, Ali standing proudly beside it, and sent it to her friend Martha in the group chat. "Karen, tell me that's not stolen. There's no way he can afford this." Martha: "Karen, you don't know that." Karen: "I know enough. I've seen his mail piling up before. And remember when he had that delivery van come at night? Shady." Martha rolled her eyes at her phone, but Karen was already scrolling to the police department's non-emergency number. When the dispatcher picked up, Karen's voice was urgent, almost breathless. "Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious vehicle in my neighborhood. I think it's stolen. Yes, I have photos. No, I'm not the owner, but I know the real owner doesn't live here. The man has been acting strangely all week." Ali, completely unaware of what was unfolding, was inside his garage wiping down the interior leather seats. The smell of new leather filled the air. His neighbor Daniel from next door walked over, whistling. "Man, this is gorgeous. Rolls-Royce Ghost, right?" Daniel grinned, running his fingers an inch above the paint, careful not to touch. "Yup." Ali smiled. "Just picked it up 3 days ago. Drove it all the way from the dealership in Chicago. Thought I'd treat myself after closing those 2 big property deals last month." Daniel chuckled. "Well, you've definitely got the best car in the neighborhood now." 15 minutes later, a distant wail of sirens broke the calm. At first, Ali didn't think much of it. Pinewood Hills was safe, but police cars passing through wasn't unusual. But then 2 black and white cruisers turned sharply into his street, their red and blue lights bouncing off every surface. Ali stepped out of the garage, frowning. The police cars slowed, then stopped right in front of his driveway. The officers stepped out, 2 in the first car, 1 in the second, and the lead officer, a tall man with sharp eyes, called out, "Sir, could you please step away from the vehicle?" Ali blinked in confusion. "Is something wrong, officer?" "Step away from the vehicle," the officer repeated, his tone firm. "Hands where I can see them." A cold wave of disbelief washed over Ali. Neighbors were already peeking from behind curtains and stepping out onto porches. Daniel's jaw dropped. "Officer, Ali began, but before he could finish, the officer moved closer. "Sir, We received a report that this vehicle may be stolen. I'm going to need you to turn around and place your hands behind your back. Stolen? Ali's voice cracked in shock. This is my car. I have the paperwork. We can discuss that in a moment, the officer interrupted. For now, I need you to cooperate. Within seconds, the cold bite of steel encircled Ali's wrists. He could hear murmurs rippling through the watching crowd. Somewhere to his left, he caught sight of Karen standing smugly on her porch, arms folded, a self-satisfied smile tugging at her lips. Daniel stepped forward. Officer, I can vouch for him. That's his car. But the officer shook his head. Sir, please step back. Ali was led toward the police cruiser. The humiliation was worse than the handcuffs. This was the neighborhood he had chosen to raise his children in. A place he had invested his savings into. And now, in the eyes of everyone watching, he was just another suspect. Before placing him in the back seat, the officer asked, Do you have any proof of ownership on you? Yes, Ali said quickly. It's in my wallet, in my back pocket. And in the glove compartment, there's the registration and insurance under my name. The second officer went to check. Minutes later, he returned, holding the documents. He glanced at his partner, then at Ali. Everything checks out, the officer admitted. Sir, we apologize for the inconvenience, but we had to respond to the report as it was made. Ali rubbed his wrists as the cuffs came off, his voice steady but cold. And who made the report? The officer hesitated. We can't disclose that. Ali didn't need him to. His eyes darted across the street, locking with Karen's. She shifted uncomfortably but didn't look away. The police cars pulled away soon after, leaving behind a street buzzing with whispers. Daniel clapped Ali on the shoulder. That was messed up, man. You should file a complaint. Ali took a deep breath. Oh, I will. And I'm not letting this slide. As he turned back toward his house, Karen finally went inside, but the smugness on her face had faded. She had wanted to embarrass Ali. Instead, she had set the stage for a neighborhood battle that was only just beginning. In that moment, Ali knew two things. 1. Karen had crossed a line. 2. This wasn't going to be the last time she tried something. The calm of Pinewood Hills had just been shattered. The Sunday after the police incident, Pinewood Hills looked deceptively calm. The morning sun poured over neat lawns and white picket fences, but underneath the quiet, whispers still rippled through the neighborhood. Some people had taken Ali's side immediately. Daniel and a few others had even posted in the HOA Facebook group, defending him and calling the incident embarrassing for the community. Others, though they wouldn't say it openly, were quietly wondering if Karen's suspicions had been justified. Karen herself was doing what she always did after stirring trouble, acting like she was the victim. She sat at her kitchen table, sipping coffee, telling her friend Martha over the phone, I was only trying to protect the neighborhood. If that man has nothing to hide, then he shouldn't have a problem with the police checking him out. Martha, tired of the drama, muttered, Karen, you went too far this time. Karen's lips thinned. Too far? Or maybe I'm the only one with the guts to call out what's going on right under our noses. Ali, meanwhile, was still furious. The humiliation of being handcuffed in front of his neighbors burned in his memory. The worst part was the look in Karen's eyes, that smug certainty that she had done the right thing. In his home office, Ali began drafting a formal complaint to the HOA board. He didn't care much for HOA politics, but this time he wasn't going to stay quiet. He described exactly what had happened, how the police found no wrongdoing, and how Karen's false report had wasted police resources and damaged his reputation. When he hit send, he felt a small wave of relief, but it didn't last long. 2 days later, Ali came home from a late business meeting and noticed something odd. His garbage bins had been dragged from the side of his house to the front lawn, their lids wide open, trash spilling onto the grass. It was petty, childish even, but it was enough to set his jaw tight. He knew who was behind it. The next morning, Daniel confirmed his suspicions. I saw Karen out here last night. She was walking her dog. Right past your bins. Looked like she was messing with them. Ali sighed. She's not going to stop, is she? Daniel shook his head. Not until she thinks she's won. Karen's next move came at the monthly HOA meeting. The room was full, more than usual, because word of the police incident had spread. The HOA president, a calm, elderly man named Mr. Thompson, began with routine matters: landscaping budgets, pool maintenance schedules, and community events. Then Karen raised her hand. I'd like to bring up a concern about the types of vehicles being kept in our neighborhood, she said loudly, her voice carrying across the room. Some residents are bringing in certain kinds of cars that don't fit the character of Pinewood Hills. Several heads turned toward Ollie, who sat 3 rows back. Mr. Thompson frowned. Karen, we've discussed this before. A vehicle is registered, insured, and parked according to HOA guidelines. But it does affect our property values. Karen interrupted. A flashy car like that attracts the wrong kind of attention. I've already had to call the police once because of it. That was Ali's breaking point. He stood slowly, his voice steady but cold. You mean the time you falsely reported my car stolen? A murmur ran through the room. Karen's eyes narrowed. I acted on reasonable suspicion. Ali took a step forward. Reasonable suspicion? You never spoke to me. You never asked a single question. You just assumed. And because of that assumption, I was handcuffed in front of my neighbors. Do you have any idea what that feels like? The room went silent. Even Mr. Thompson looked uncomfortable. Karen crossed her arms. Maybe if you were more transparent. Transparent? Ali laughed bitterly. You think I owe you my financial records? My life story? Just because you can't stand not knowing other people's business? Karen's face flushed red. Mr. Thompson quickly intervened. All right, that's enough. This is not the time or place for personal disputes. Karen, your concern about vehicles is noted, but unless there is an actual rule violation, there's nothing for the HOA to enforce. Ali, you have the board's assurance that personal harassment by any resident will not be tolerated. After the meeting, Karen stormed out, muttering to herself. She hated losing, especially in front of the entire neighborhood. That night, she sat at her kitchen table with her laptop, scrolling through the HOA bylaws, looking for anything she could use against Ali. An outdated clause about unapproved exterior modifications caught her eye, and a slow smile crept across her face. She had just found her next weapon. Ali, on the other hand, walked home feeling a small victory. But deep down, he knew Karen wasn't finished. And he was right. What was coming next wouldn't just be petty, it would be an all-out HOA war.